Welcome, everybody. This is a council meeting of the municipality of the County of Annapolis in January 18th, I think it is today. We will begin the meeting with the roll call. District 1.
Bruce Prout.
District 2 is Brian Fuzzy Connell, who has called me and explained that he can't make the meeting. So I would ask that he be excused. Perhaps when we finish the roll call, I'll ask for a vote on that.
You have to do it right now, please, during the roll call.
Oh, do I? Okay.
And that's to excuse Councillor Connell from meeting attendance requirements.
So moved.
Moved, sorry, moved by the Deputy Warden, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion's carried. District 3 is myself, Alan Parrish. District 4,
Clyde Bartow.
District 5,
Lynn Longmire.
District 6,
Alec Morrison,
District 7,
David Hudson.
District 8,
Michael Gunn.
District 9,
Wendy Sheridan.
District 10,
Fred Redden.
District 11.
Diane LeBlanc.
Thank you, everyone. On this icy morning, looks like it's a bit of a skating rink out there. So in a way, I'm glad we're doing this on Zoom today, even though I do like to do things in person. It's worked out well today, I think. Are there any disclosures of interest that anybody might have with respect to anything on the agenda? Seeing none, I will move to item number 3 on the agenda, the approval of the agenda as circulated. Would someone
Move to
move
approve.
that? Moved by the Deputy Warden, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Are there any discussions with respect to the agenda? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Next, item 5, business arising from the minutes. There's the dog bylaw. Would
For the
Deputy
minutes,
Warden-
please, Warden.
Oh, I missed that, didn't I?
Yeah.
Sorry. Would someone move the adoption of the minutes from December 14th?
So moved.
Deputy Warden moves, Councillor Sheridan seconds. Discussion? I don't see any, so I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Now, business arising from the minutes, the dog bylaw.
5.1, A1, dog bylaw from December 14th, 2021. That municipal council give the final reading to amend A1 dog bylaw by increasing minimum fines in accordance with the first reading given at December 14th, 2021 regular council session.
Second,
I'll second.
Councillor Prout seconds. Discussion? Deputy Warden?
Thank you. Increasing the fines with the dog bylaw, are we going to be? I'm all for it, don't get me wrong, because I believe dogs have to be kept, in responsibility of their owners. But by increasing these fines, will we actually recover any of that money, what it costs us? From what I understand of fines and one thing and another, time as it goes through, and if we put the fines up to like a lot of money, people will turn around and say, well, I ain't paying that, and I'll take you to court over it. So when we get to court over these fines and the judge gives somebody, $100, is this just going to run into a lot of litigation is what I worry about down the line, litigation that we won't recover. And if somebody could answer that for me,
I don't think anybody can answer that question, Deputy Warden. I think we'll have to see how it goes. And my recollection is that the fines were not increased a huge amount myself, but
Mr. Warden, I think Don would like to respond to that.
sure.
And I would certainly echo that the warden's comment that we can't totally predict it, but we have not in the past had a huge issue with dogs not being reclaimed. It would be a different circumstance if we were talking about increasing the fine for cats, because the recovery by owners for cats is extremely low, but dogs, it's extremely high. And I should note as well that for someone to reclaim their dog from the pound, not only may they be facing a fine, they're also having to pay the costs of boarding the animal in the pound. So they have to pay the costs of the officer attending to pick up the animal and the cost for boarding it in the pound in order to get their dog back.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other comments with respect to the dog bylaw motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. Now we'll go to the councillor comments. We'll start with District 1.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to wish everybody a happy new year. I know we're well into January. And I'd like to pass on a thank you to all the Nova Scotia power crews and the snow plow operators who've put in such great work over the last 10 days to keep as much as they can the power on in the homes and safe highways to travel on. And just at the end, I would like to hope that we can all maintain our effort as COVID is really testing Nova Scotia right now, and keep doing the best we can to limit its spread. The numbers are atrocious, but hopefully it's the beginning of the end of this variant, I hope. Thank you.
District 2 is Councillor Connell, who isn't here today, so I'll proceed with District 3. I'd like to echo Councillor Prout's comments with respect to the work that the Nova Scotia Power crews did. Particularly, as you know, we seem to have weekly storms now. There was a storm last Friday night, and then it was the Friday before that. The previous Friday storm was the most difficult for most of us in Annapolis County. If you go on the Nova Scotia Power outage map, you can see that large parts of the county, particularly the most populated parts of the county, were out of power for sometimes up to 24 hours and sometimes even more. And I give a lot of credit to those people who went out into the storm and were up on poles and trying to fix the power for all of us, because you know, some of us are fortunate with wood stoves and generators and that sort of thing, but not everybody is. So it does become a real emergency when we face these problems. I didn't see so many power outages in the recent storm, and that was good to see. The one issue I'd like to raise is that I've had a number of complaints with respect to the clearing of the sidewalks in Bridgetown. My district is the Granville Street North, and I've passed those along to the administration of the county, and I thought I should make a note of the fact that there have been these complaints about the sidewalk clearing, and those comments acknowledge that there's been some big storms, and they acknowledge that you know, there's a lot of snow to clear, but a lot of them have dealt with the first of the storms a few days afterwards, not necessarily immediately. They acknowledge, the people acknowledge that with the big storms we've had, they don't expect immediate clearing of the sidewalks. That's about all I have to report from District 3, so I'll move along to District 4.
Good morning. It's a new year, and we have all been busy cleaning them up after, you know, the storms. We've had a fair amount dumped on us. I'd like to wish everyone to have a safe winter season,
and be careful out there. Daylight hours will be lengthening with the spring around the corner, but there's still a lot of winter to come. Let's make the best of it and dig out the skis and snowshoes to have some fun and recreation. Remember to be aware of COVID conditions. It's important. As well, I'd like to echo appreciation for the utility and cleanup crews in their efforts to get us through the weather conditions that's been dumped on us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Move along to District 5.
Good morning from District 5. Well, it's Christmas and the holiday season of 2021 is now packed up, and the memories that we've all made have been tucked in our hearts now forever. Although a little different again this year as we continue to face the pandemic, my wish for 2022 is that it is wonderful. We have certainly been blessed in District 5 this December by families, many families that were affected in devastating ways. Other communities coming together to help support. Winter Shore has found us, and with that, thankful for the plowing situation that, of course, we've all spoke about so far. Nova Scotia Power, Bell Alliant, all of the men and women who have come out to brave the weather and heights in order to restore all of those utilities that we desperately need. I would just like to make mention that during storms, emergencies, being best prepared and encouraging citizens to do that. I would like to as well focus on our most vulnerable who, as the warden has said, might not have source of heat or access to water or whatnot. And I ask that if we can, each as a citizen, reach out to the vulnerable in times like that, it will surely make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you. District 6.
Thank you very much. I hope we all had a Merry Christmas season. I know we did. That we are celebrating the start of 2022 and are ready to continue to contribute to the defeat of COVID. I enjoy encounters with citizens, even when sometimes the encounter is not as pleasant as it should be. But I want here to let the CAO know how pleased I am with the work regarding unsightly and dangerous conditions. The wording of the letters, the care that is taken, attending to each one of those. I wish I didn't have as many in my district as I do, but I think that the procedure is very, very good, and I send my compliments. Talking about 2022, I enjoy municipal politics immensely, and I'm proud to be called a politician. Throughout my life, I've functioned within international, federal, provincial, and municipal political environments and have learned a lot. I take pleasure in being part of a county team of politicians working with our competent and capable staff within an attitude of being caring and compassionate about and to the needs of our citizens. Recently, I've heard municipal politics being described as a racket. I heard it, in fact, twice in the same day. My disagreement with that view is foundational to my whole being, and I will continue to do all I can for the good of Annapolis County residents. Thank you.
Thank you very much. District 7.
Here we go. I'll just echo comments of my other councillors that have already spoken. I guess the only specific thing I will mention this morning is around the street the plowing of the streets and the sidewalks in Bridgetown. I took a quick drive around this morning. There's still quite a bit of work to be done. And I think the main part of the work surrounds the snow that remains in front of the various businesses in town along the business district. And so there's still work to be done there. My own opinion of the situation regarding the plowing and of the streets and sidewalks result mainly from the previous storm. I don't believe that the snow removal and clearing was adequate around following that storm. And the situation that we are now faced with the storm of last weekend was only compounded by the lack of work at that time. So anyway, that's basically my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Warden.
Thank you. Good morning and Happy New Year. I received calls and letters on my usual 3 topics this month. And they would be opposition to the vaccine mandate, garbage not collected, and roads not plowed. But this morning I received a letter outlining the detrimental effect of the provincial government's decision on the new regulations of the operation of daycares. And private owners are being asked to make hasty decisions without all the information. They have been told in some cases that the information will be provided after the deadline by which they need to make their decisions. I suspect this will be the first of many letters I and others will receive on this topic. I hope everyone stays safe on the roads this week, but I have to give a special mention out to county staff. Listen, this weekend after that storm, on Friday night, Saturday evening, I saw county staff cleaning the sidewalks in Granville, and they really did a great job. I mean, they had the snow blower out and they had it cleaned up because there's a lot of road traffic over there, people walking and such. And they were out and got it all cleaned up. Hats off to them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sheridan.
Thank you. I'd also like to echo the remarks of the other councillors in thanking the staff and the Public Works, the Department of Highways, Nova Scotia Power for all they've done with the storms. And I'd soon like to be able to say we have an event coming up in the community, which would be great. However, in the meantime, I would like to just say if you could continue to support the local fire departments with their raffle box 50/50, maybe the Soldiers Memorial Hospital Foundation and others, and purchasing local. It's all important in our communities right now, and people do need support. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Redden.
Well, as I've said before, I struggle here, and I was going to mention the firefighters 50/50 as Councillor Sheridan just did. Fantastic that we both picked it up. But the other thing I wanted to talk about was the community hall in Brickton, which is undergoing a little bit of a revitalization, and with so many volunteer-based organizations, there's always ebb and flow, and it's really, as a counselor, I've really enjoyed noticing these things more. And one other thing that I find goes along with these things on the upswing is sometimes strangers pitch in and you have no idea who did the good deed. And in this case, the Brickton Hall got plowed out by a mysterious stranger on the weekend. And this is, having been across the country in lots of places and lived lots of places, one of the things I always missed about Nova Scotia was these sort of random acts of kindness that seem to be, I want to emphasize, seem to be a little more common here, because they are, they're a human thing. They definitely seem to be a Canadian thing, maybe a little more so, and a maritime thing, maybe even a little more so. And it's just fantastic to be part of that community.
Thank you very much, Councillor LeBlanc.
Good morning. Well, at this time, I guess we're into 2022. We had no snow in 2021 that we would have to talk about, but we've been bombarded with 2 great snowstorms. This has caused a lot of problems with the cleaning of the snow from the snowplow operators, and it's not particularly, they've done what they could with all the snow that we have collected. So I say thank you to them and thank you to the power companies, etc. Hopefully, we won't get 3 and 4 in a row because there will be no place to put all this snow. And it will cause power outages, and it is definitely a problem as far as adding to COVID with this and trying to get around and trying to get warm and all these other things that cause problems. Hopefully, in this new year that we can try to move with COVID out permanently. Had enough of it. Everybody's had enough of it. And it's causing grief and it's causing stress on a lot of people because you're always concerned about someone in your community or someone in your family. Everybody in particular. We just feel, we're stuck. Some things we can't help out with and we'd love to, but we get to a point that we get stuck. So hopefully that will clear out. And on to a better 2022. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you, councillors, for your comments. As we've all said, it's been a difficult couple of weeks with these snowstorms, but I'm sure we all appreciate the work that our staff has done in that regard. We'll move along to new business, of which there's none. Number 8, committee and organizational reports. We have a number of motions arising from committee of the whole. So if the deputy warden would like to read those motions.
Yes, sir. 8.1, Committee of the Whole, December 14th, 2021, AM-2.2.1, Intern Staff Appointments Policy Repeal. That Municipal Council repeal AM-2.2.1 Intern Staff Appointments Policy in pursuant to 7-day notice given December 14th, 2021, Committee of the Whole.
Seconder. Councillor Longmire seconds. Discussion. Councillor Hudson.
Yes, perhaps I should have asked this previously at the Committee of the Whole meeting. What, if anything, is replacing this?
Would someone on staff like to respond to that question? Yes, Ms. Campbell.
So there is not a specific policy that's going to be replacing it, although we are in the process of having working towards one human resources policy that encompasses all human resources matters. I don't want to indicate, because it's not complete at this stage, that we have something that's going to absolutely replace this. But I would say that this is primarily an administrative matter and therefore largely falls under the purview of the CAO.
Any other questions, comments with respect to this motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Next, 8.2.
8.2 AM-1.4.2.1 Fire Response Services Policy Amend. That Municipal Council amend AM-1.4.2.1 Fire Response Services Policy to read Fire and Emergency Services Policy, and with amendments as reviewed in accordance with 7-day notice at December 14th, 2021, Committee of the Whole.
Councilor LeBlanc seconds. Discussion. Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Next,
8.3, Committee of the Whole, January 11th, 2022, East End Area MPS LUB Review, Land Use Bylaw. That Municipal Council commence a review of the Annapolis County East End Area Municipal Planning Strategy and Land Use Bylaw and adopt a public participation program that would refer the review applications to the East End Area Advisory Committee and the Annapolis County Planning Advisory Committee for their review and recommendation, along with the applicable public meetings and advertisements in accordance with the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole.
is there a seconder for that? Councillor Sheridan seconds. Discussion? Councillor LeBlanc?
I don't oppose this at all, but I have a question. Being that in the status that we're in with COVID and our restrictions, and we already have this East End Area Advisory, do we, should the ones that we have established be left to the end of the review, or is it all going to be? I find that there's going to be a lot of work to be done, and I'm thinking if we have it already there, are we going to put them at the forefront, or are we going to put it down to the bottom? I just want to see what we're thinking on that one.
Would someone from staff be able to respond to that question?
If I may, Mr. Warden, to answer the councillor's question, the secondary plans, which would be this one, are being done by staff, and the primary plan is being done by Stantec. So what we would like to do is have them done in conjunction with one another. So all the plans would be completed and implemented by December 23.
Okay, so it won't cause any extra work for staff. It's because Stantec is there to relieve the extra.
Correct.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Other questions or comments? I don't see any. So I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried.
8.4,
8.4.
Cornwallis Park MPS LUB Review. That Municipal Council commence a review of the Cornwallis Park Municipal Planning Strategy and Land Use Bylaw and adopt a public participation program that would refer the review applications to the Cornwallis Park Area Advisory Committee and the Annapolis County Planning Advisory Committee for their review and recommendation, along with the applicable public meetings and advertisements pursuant to the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole.
Seconded by Councillor Morrison. Discussion? Councillor Morrison?
Thank you. I'm glad that we're going to be carrying out this review. When we did the plan the last time, to be a bit underspoken, there was lively and active debate, and I look forward to it again this time. Thank you.
Other comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
8.5, TBR Renewal Annapolis County Waterline Edition, Hillside, $105,407. That Municipal Council authorized the period of borrowing in the amount not exceeding $102,556 be extended for a further period not exceeding 12 months from the date of the approval of the Minister of Municipal Affairs for the temporary borrowing resolution, Annapolis County Waterline Addition Hillside in accordance with the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Barto seconds. Discussion? Yes, Madam Clerk?
Yes, I'll verify. I expect the wording in the motion itself is the proper amount. I will verify that, and that would be the amount in the motion should be the 102,556.
Right, thank you for that. Councillor Hudson?
Yes, I believe the word "to" should be removed. It should be 100,500. The "to" in the motion should be removed.
Right, I see that. Thank you for that. The clerk will confirm that the numbers are accurate.
Yeah, I believe it is 102,556, not 105,407.
Oh, the amount is wrong. Oh.
Yeah. The amount in the wording is the correct amount, I believe. I don't have it right at my fingertips, but I will verify. I do believe it is what is written out in the motion because I took that from the document itself.
Okay, thank you for that, Ms. Young. Any other questions or comments with respect to the motion on the floor? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. Next.
8.6.
Mr. Warden, excuse me, Mr. Warden. The recommendation report did state 105,407. So I will change the motion to be the 105,407.
That's fine. Thank you very much for that. I'm sorry, Deputy Warden, we're at 8.6.
Yep. TBR 8.6 TBR renewal municipal land and buildings 7.2 million or 7,200,000. That the municipal council authorized the period of borrowing in the amount not exceeding $7,200,000 be extended for a further period not exceeding 12 months from the date of the approval of the Minister of Municipal Affairs for the temporary borrowing resolution, municipal land and buildings pursuant to the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Barto seconds. Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried.
8.7 AM-1.4.14 low income tax exemption policy amend. That municipal council amend AM-1.4.14 low income tax exemption policy by increasing the exemption amount to 350 and increasing the allowable income to 27,000 in accordance with in accordance with 7-day notice given January 11th, 2022 Committee of the Whole.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Morrison seconds. Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Madam Clerk, did you want to say something?
Yes. I'm sorry, there is confusion. So I've gone back into the Committee of the Whole agenda package regarding that temporary borrowing resolution for the Hillside Waterline Addition.
Yes.
The amount in the temporary borrowing resolution document, not the recommendation, is the 102,556. Do I have the permission of the mover and seconder, if I just get back there, to keep that amount at $102,556? That would be the Deputy Warden and Councillor Barto. Because
Absolutely.
Councillor Barto, do you agree?
I'll just have the motion read the 102,556 as stated in the temporary borrowing resolution document from the province.
Councillor Barto,
Where did the 105,407 arrive from?
It may have been taken from an old document that was copied and reused,
Okay,
but the document from the province that we are indeed renewing is 102,556.
okay. It wasn't changed because I guess my question was because of what's been transpiring to get this project off the ground, that maybe the costs had changed a little. I don't know. I just was wondering.
Can't tell you. There's somewhere between the wording in the TBR document itself and the recommendation report. So if we go with the TBR document itself from the province, I believe that is the numbers that you should stick with. And I'll reflect in the motion.
so Councillor
Thanks for that.
Barto Councillor Barto, would you just confirm that putting that 102,556 number in there is fine with you?
Yeah, I guess I second that. Yeah, I will concur.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Warden.
8.8?
8, where are we? 8.
Oh, no, we haven't.
Did we pass the motion on 8.7, Madam Clerk? We did. I see Councillor Morrison saying we did. So we're at 8.8. Thank you very much.
8.8, Community Grants Program Current Applications. That Municipal Council approved the allocation of grants from the 2021-22 Community Grants Program in accordance with AM-1.4.9 Community Grants Policy for a total of $9,200 as follows. $1,200, $1,200 to the Granville Center Community Hall Association, and $8,000 to Lawrencetown Exhibition Youth Arena, subject to review of the HST pursuant to the recommendation of the committee as a whole.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Barto seconds. Discussion? There's Councillor Redden come back. I don't see any discussion, so I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Now we move to correspondence. There's a letter from the Annapolis Community Health Board that's been circulated in your package by John Smith, the chair, is the signature of the letter. Is there a motion
For
to
information?
moved by the deputy warden to receive for information? Is there a seconder to that? Councillor Longmire seconds. Is there any discussion with Councillor Morrison?
Thank you. I'm not sure why the motion is to receive this for information, but I will interpret it as the motion being the mechanism by which this item lands on the floor. And we all know that there is a request here in the last paragraph.
Is there?
And I'm wondering what we will do about that request. I would like to say that I was taken aback by listening and watching on television, and this seems to be in many ways across the country, that one of the arguments developed to keep the schools open is that if the schools weren't open, children wouldn't have the food they need to keep themselves together for the day. And I find that to be rather shocking, which is why I hope, and I don't know if we can act on it today, why I hope we will do whatever we can to advance this program. Thank you.
Councilor Morrison, if I could just respond to that, I have to confess myself, I hadn't anticipated council today deciding on a response, but I would welcome either staff indicating they would bring it back or you bringing a notice of motion that you would like to have it before council for a decision. Either way, if you'd like that to come back for a response, in a meaningful response, I'd be happy to find some vehicle to make that happen.
Thank you. Unfortunately, we have a motion on the floor to adopt it for information.
So we need to remove the motion.
Well, you can move an amendment to the motion.
I move that, having considered the letter under discussion, that council ask staff how we might approach answering in the positive the invitation to join this endeavor.
Second.
It's seconded by the deputy warden. Did you get that, Madam Clerk?
I'm getting it, yep.
We'll wait for you to read it out once you have it and see if Councilor Morrison agrees with what you have.
It was moved by Councillor Morrison, seconded by Deputy Warden Gunn, that having considered the letter under discussion, that municipal council asks staff how we might approach answering in the positive to join this endeavor.
Does that reflect your suggestion? Yes, it does. Now,
Is
I
this a
had,
direction to staff?
I believe you could read it that way, yes. Now, I had anticipated an amendment to receive for information and this be an amendment to that rather than a separate motion.
Right.
So is there a discussion on the amendment? Deputy
amendment?
Warden?
Is this to
Yes,
be
thank-
considered an amendment?
Yeah, this is an amendment to the motion to receive for information, and then it will go on and ask staff as set out in the motion, or amendment, I should say. Deputy Warden?
Thank you. This is a very important program. This getting kids fed before they have to start the school day, very important. The reason I received it for information is I didn't realize the ask on the last end and didn't realize there really was one. But thank you, Councillor Morrison. And the reason I received it for information was just to get it on the table. That's all. Thank you.
Any further discussion with respect to the amendment, Councillor LeBlanc?
Not particularly to the amendment, but this is a program that I know for a fact that had been started many years ago, schools in Annapolis County, to help feed students before school or students at noon if they weren't capable of having any nutrition. And there were always snacks if there were like apples or stuff like that that were provided by the local farmers or residents or stores. So this program is not under this heading. However, it has definitely been worked with in our county. So one of the things is, yes, because of COVID, children, unfortunately, when they're in school, certain children, we know they will be fed, and they can honestly and easily and without, any concerns go and have nutritious food to carry them through the day and feed their little minds. And so to me, I'd like to know more of the workings of this, being that I've seen it already in our school, to see how it improves what we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments with respect to the amendment that's on the floor? Councillor Barto?
Is that amendment meant to replace receive for information?
No, it's an amendment. It's to receive for information, and then the motion would go ahead and request staff to report in my words.
So we're sending it in two different directions. Okay.
Any other discussions on the amendment, Councillor Prout?
Thank you. I would just echo Councillor LeBlanc's comment. having been in the school system for a number of years, this has been an ongoing issue. It's not something that's new. A number of teachers, before programs like this were available, a number of teachers took it upon themselves. A number of service clubs would come in and help. And the need has always been there. And I think given all that we've been through in the last couple of years, COVID and whatnot, the end is certainly the amount of need has certainly increased. And I'd be very much in favor of what Councillor Morrison has suggested. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you mind reading the amendment again? Or, yeah, read the amendment.
It was moved by Councillor Morrison, seconded by Deputy Warden Gunn, to amend the motion by adding that having considered the letter under discussion, that municipal council asks staff how we might approach answering in the positive to join this endeavor.
Thank you very much. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion on the amendment is carried. So we're back to discussion on the motion as amended. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote on the motion as amended, which is to receive for information plus the amendment that the clerk just read out. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you very much, councillors. Next, there's a letter from Service Nova Scotia and Internal Services from the Honorable Colton LeBlanc.
Move to receive.
Moved to receive by the
Yeah,
Deputy
permission.
Warden. Second. There's a seconder to the motion. Councillor Longmire seconds. Is there any discussion with respect to this letter? Councillor Sheridan?
I'm happy to see we have a response, but I'm not that happy with what they are suggesting still, but I guess we'll have to just go with what they are saying and see what happens and see what the outcome is in the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Morrison.
Thank you. I join with Councillor Sheridan in her remarks concerning the fact that we have I would say a substantive reply, which might not be pleasing to the ears of everyone. The plan that the government released last autumn is a comprehensive one. But in many ways, it's not a plan. It's a document that says the plan will include, the plan will be to, etc. Now, having had a good discussion about this subject in council, and having written the letter and having received the reply, do we now just set the item aside? Do we keep watch over it to see what's going to happen? I think this is a subject of which we should continue to be seized in some way.
Thank you. The matter can always come back to council if any councillor feels that it's being ignored. It came back once, it can come back again. Councillor Sheridan, did I see your hand up?
Yeah, I just want to mention, I've been following this with great interest. And even in this morning's All of Nova Scotia, there was a landlord that ended up selling, I can't remember how many units off, just because he couldn't afford to keep them, because he was trying to keep the rent low and do maintenance. And with the 2%, he just couldn't do it anymore. He had a great offer from somebody else that wants to come in and renovate and do a major increase in rent over time. So it kicks out the low rental portion of the smaller landlords that are trying to keep the rent low, keep it, for people that can't afford these high rents. And this is what's happening all across the province. But apparently we can't get that across, that they are losing lower income rentals that are only going to be large rentals, like increases in rent over time. over the next couple of years. As soon as somebody moves out, they're allowed to do a major renovation and increase the rent.
Mhm.
So this is what's taking place. And you can't prevent it with the way they're going in this direction. But I'm keeping an eye on it. Thank you.
I'm glad, if I could, Councillor Sheridan, you follow this more than I did. You said that if somebody if a tenant moves out and then there's a remediation of the site, they can increase the rent. What if they don't change? What if they don't do anything to the unit? Do you know whether they can increase the rent?
I believe they can, yes.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councilor LeBlanc?
I have a comment, just, I think that they're talking about all these doubling our population. But they're not talking about providing housing in the rural areas to help us.
Mhm.
So, or, outside of the cities or, so maybe, I don't think, I'm going to consider the fact that maybe we should be asking the government, what are they going to do for the rural areas? People can sell their properties. We can't stop that. But government saying that they're going to double the population, well, they need to provide housing in rural as much as urban so that they can, people can rent. So maybe we could consider the fact of asking what they're going to do for the rural areas to help the situation. That's just a comment.
Thank you. Any other comments with respect to the letter from the minister? Deputy Warden?
Thank you. Just sort of following along with Councillor Morrison there, maybe we should be doing other things. Is this kind of a time we should, in the future, this year, whenever next year, starting an initiative to build some low-income housing by the county in our different boroughs? We could use, a couple here, a couple there, and, right around Annapolis County. And if that was to happen, then how would we make that happen? How would we, is it something we should be considering for the future? Thank you.
Any other comments? Councilor Morrison?
Thank you. A couple of years ago, if it was that long ago, we had a lot of discussion about tiny homes or tiny houses. But that just seems to have been set aside or not brought up again. And it might be there were documents submitted or circulated to council by the planning folks. And perhaps those should be sent around again to see if there is interest in this matter of tiny homes.
Councilor Sheridan?
I believe in New Brunswick, they actually have set some pieces of land, property or a way to put on these tiny homes, such as Councillor Morrison is suggesting. And they use it and regulate it kind of like a trailer park type of thing. But it's for lower rents, lower income. And maybe possibly when we're doing our land use bylaw, it might be something to put on the table to say, is this something we want to look at? Is, something along that line we go to do the planning.
It's an interesting thought. Thank you. Councilor LeBlanc?
And along with that thought, because we've gone through this with our other council of tiny homes, we could, our community could find our own land, the county land, can be used for such a project to help out residents that have low income or need assistance.
Thank
So
you.
it could probably go to the strategic plan because I think we had it there.
It was I do recall seeing it in our existing strategic plan. I do.
So it's.
Other comments or questions? Councilor Prout?
Thank you. Excuse me. I'm trying to recall exactly when it was. It's been a number of years ago, but I believe You know, if the county were to provide land for uses like this, there was an interchurch or an interfaith group that went ahead, and I could think of some places in the western end of Kings County where small homes, not what we think of as tiny homes that you see on TV, but smaller homes, 1 and 2 bedroom homes, were put there and were made available for people with low income or assisted living spaces. And I think we should be looking at all of these things. You know, this gives this land use bylaw program that we're going through, maybe we could take that and ride with it and provide some spaces in and around the county for things like that to be looked at. We could, you know, sometimes service clubs, church groups are very much interested in providing a solution to the issue of lack of housing for people on low income, in low income situations. Just food for thought. I agree. Thank you.
Well, I believe that even tomorrow, the gentleman from Stantec is going to be contacting most of us with respect to our particular interest in what we want to see in the land use planning exercise that we're going through for the county. And I would encourage any counselor who sees this as an important issue to raise that in that discussion with Stantec in the next day or two as we move forward. Any other comments or questions with respect to the motion on the floor? Councilor Longmire?
Thank you. I just wanted to add to it that when the grass was green, the urgency doesn't look quite the same as it does over the past 2 weekends with all of the snow and the unsafe conditions that we are placing people in. The amount of coach surfing, running from one place to another, struggling to find the next bed or coach to lie on is certainly beyond crisis. And we did have an opportunity here this past week. We were invited via Zoom to discuss with Chris D'Entremont and Carmen Kerr-Jill-Bolser, and this very thing was discussed. So it's great to see that the letter has come back to us, but again, it is, as they said, a government top priority, and we need to keep bringing it back until we see what the initiative or however they see fit to help us remedy this. Thanks.
Thank you for that. Any further comments or questions? Councilor Redden?
I mean, there's a lot of things in play here too. I think when we're considering our transit plans, we need to really think about how we want that to tie into with affordability and these things. In some ways, living in the country can be very expensive. You're pretty much forced to have an automobile and things like this that you don't necessarily have to have in the city. But then we have other strengths here as well, where you can be a little more self-sufficient with gardening and such, as there's more space. So we should be thinking about as we plan this, I guess, thinking about our strengths and how to mitigate our weaknesses, such as transportation and stuff like that. I don't have any solutions, but you know, it's an issue we can work on without it explicitly coming before council, and that it can be part of a lot of our other stuff that comes to us here. It's very challenging.
Thank you for that. Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote on the motion on the floor. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you for that. Unless there's something else in the public portion of the meeting, the next thing on the agenda is to ask for a motion to go in camera in accordance with sections 22 to E, contract negotiations, and F, litigation or potential litigation of the Municipal Government Act. Deputy Warden, would you make that motion?
Yes, I would make that motion, that we go into the camera, in camera in accordance with section 22 to E, contract negotiations, and F, litigation and potential litigation of the Municipal Government Act.
Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Sheridan seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. Thank you. Now, before we move for adjournment, I think it would be helpful if we could just review the upcoming committee of the whole meetings, because we have a bunch coming up. Unfortunately, I left my appointment book in my other house. Could either David or Carolyn, if you could just run through when our next committee of the whole meetings are for the public and for our benefit as well.
Hey, Daryl.
On Tuesday, January 25th, there's a special committee of the whole starting at 10 o'clock, covering at least 3 items. I think there's been an addition, so I'll have to develop an agenda for it, covering fire services funding, accessibility, and Raven Haven. And on Wednesday, January 26th, starting at 10 o'clock, special committee of the whole regarding the Bridgetown Community Area Rate.
What's the previous committee of the whole meeting? Was it at 10 o'clock as well? I missed that.
Yes, both are starting at 10 o'clock and they're both
Okay.
Zoom.
They're both on Zoom. Okay.
Yes.
Any questions about that by any councillors? Okay, then I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by the Deputy Warden, seconded by Councillor Sheridan. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion's carried.